Hello guys, so I have already done a review of the SteelSeries Prime gaming mouse that I really recommend for esports player. I think the ergonomics are fairly good and overall build quality and feel of all of the buttons with the new digital light buttons instead of they being mechanical feels very good, and it's a nice and sturdy mouse. But let's just take a fast look between the SteelSeries Prime and the SteelSeries Prime Wireless. So as we can see here, they look completely the same, but here we have the wireless one. It is a little bit more heavy, and it seems to be a little bit more like back heavy compared to the Prime one, because we probably have more of the batteries and such behind here. This weighs 12 grams more compared to the regular Prime. I can't really feel that difference too much, but it's a little bit heavier. Taking a look at the underside, here we can see we have used white PTFE glide pads. Otherwise the glide pads are in the same place. I can't feel the gliding difference. We have a True Move ear sensor here and a True Move Pro sensor in this one. This one is better for like if you flick and move up in the ear with your mouse. I can't really feel the difference, and my play style isn't too much like flicker and lift off in the air and such. So yeah, I can't really feel the difference between the sensor. Both of them, I guess, are really good. We have the DPI switch underneath here at a different location, and we have of course an on-off power button on the Prime Wireless. And as we can see on the Prime Wireless, we use USB-C with a more rounded off port there, and on the Prime they've actually used a micro USB with this like angle to the cable. I think that angle or a rectangle, or no, I mean yeah, shape there maybe makes the cable sit more secure in the mouse. Having a mouse bungee like this, the wired mouse moves around very nice and freely, and we don't really have too much resistance with the cable. And gaming, I can't really notice the cable too much, even though if we switch to wireless, we maybe feel a little bit more free. So it is nice to not have the wire, but it's not a big difference in my opinion. And then we also have to deal with charging up the mouse, even though this here actually have a fairly good runtime. I haven't charged this too many times yet, but that also depends on how you set, I guess, the light settings on this. I've set it to turn off while you start to move it around, and when I stop moving around it will light up, but for 30 seconds or so then it will dim down. Then after like 5 minutes or so, I've set it to turn off the light. And when you go into like inactive mode, it takes like 1 or 2 seconds for it to activate again. So it's not like it's always on to save power and such, but while you're using it, you don't really notice those effects. I have both of them plugged in at the moment, and we can see in here in the SteelSeries engine, like the software to control it, they look basically the same, but they look a little bit different. These windows can't be resized, I think. Yeah, they actually can, but they got a little bit of a different setup here with the settings, but you basically can do the same things. The layout is just different. Change button configuration, macro editor on both sides, mouse wheel brightness, yada yada yada. The main difference here is that with the wireless one you have these controls for battery, like sleep timer, illumination dim timer, high efficiency mode, and illumination smart mode and such. Otherwise basically the same in the software, just some minor layout differences to control the lights between the two ones. So here we have a nice lineup. So I was playing a few games this weekend at my home setup, actually with the same screen I use here now. I was testing it at my home setup, and I was like wondering why I was such a bad player today, playing with these Prime mouses, because I was basically testing the difference there, and I just felt so slow in game and such. So I maybe thought that it was something with my setup and arm, and maybe I was tired, my sitting height or something was not right. But then I thought about it. In my home setup I was then using a Glorious mouse, and going from the primes that weigh from 69 or 68 grams I believe, to the 80 gram wireless one, down to like 57 gram Aerox, I just felt much more flexible in game, much faster movements, much better aim, much better like snapping in on targets, quick scoping, totally different feel. So for me now, I actually have to switch back to the Aerox, because I can't really play the same way on the Prime ones. As we can see, it's a little bit of a different layout. These are heavier, maybe that makes some of the difference, but I also feel with like the Aerox, I just get a better grip around it and better feel. With this one you sit a little bit more back on the mouse, and your hand is also a little bit higher, which the mouse feels comfortable, but the angle of my hand when I have a fairly high table like this, it's a little bit too high here, putting a little bit of strain in the inside of my hand. So I like something where I get my hand more around the mouse. But I just say that I felt like 30 years older playing with these mouses compared to a lighter and lower profile mouse than this. So that's unfortunate. Yeah, so I will keep playing with SteelSeries Aerox, Glorious, and also that I don't really remember the HyperX Pulsefire. That is also one of my favorites, even though I think the Aerox maybe looks the best. But going also from the primes to the Aerox, you can feel the build quality of the Aerox. It's much lighter, but you can then feel the difference. The buttons doesn't feel quite as good, and also the layout on this middle one just very low and high up, so not as easy to like switch between weapons and such as with the primes, but they're just a little bit too heavy, a little bit weird of an angle on your hand, and you can't grip around it. But yeah, those were the main differences in my opinion. So yeah, thank you for watching.